Welcome. My name is Bridget Uribe, and I'll be your moderator this evening. Over the past 5 years, I have moderated for 20 panels, and today we have 3 wonderful panelists who will be joining us in a discussion about whether tobacco and alcohol should be banned from advertisement. In our audience, we have members of the marketing companies from all over the nation, and we hope to inform you on the effects of banning these substances and if they should be implemented. Now, going from left to right, we have Rafaela Higale, who's a representative at the Capitol here in Austin. And in the center, we have Sojin Ha, who is a member of, or works as a marketing communications associate, and she travels around the nation working with other ad companies. And to our far right, we have Nathaniel Muniz, who's a lobbyist for tobacco and alcohol advertisement. Now, panelists, you will have a total of 3 questions each, with 1 minute to answer the first question and 1.5 minutes to answer the second question. I'm going to be making my way down for the first question and then come back to Rafaela. And at the end, we'll have 3 minutes for Q&A. Now, for our first question, for Rafaela, what is your position on this topic?
Good afternoon, my name is Rafaela Hegele and I'm a representative at the Capitol. I'm in favor of banning tobacco and beer advertisement entirely from the public space since it supports harmful behavior and underage drinking. You will all agree with me when I say that the school and parents try to convince young people to just say no to drugs. However, according to the New York Times, the beer and tobacco industry spend $35 million each day on advertisement, so they practically urge people to say yes to drugs. Now, the problem that I see is that these commercials are very youth-centered. The images they present are pictures of success and of lifestyle, and since the young people are very easy to influence and also very easy to impress, they think they link smoking and drinking as an adult habit or activity, and they don't see the addiction behind it. And therefore, my point of view is we should select carefully the kind of influence we expose the young generation to, and their health should be our prior concern.
Thank you, Rafa. Now hearing from Sojin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sujin Hai, and I believe that alcohol and tobacco advertisement should be restricted but not banned. First of all, according to Google's and Reuters, alcohol advertisement often portray alcohol as enhancing economic success, fun, very attractive to opposite sex, and also social popularity. Such messages fails to mention the risk of the alcohol use. Therefore, alcohol and tobacco restrictions can reduce the exposure to alcohol use as advertisement, promoting unrealistic message to alcohol use. Secondly, studies suggest that alcohol advertisement are related to the onset initiation of the alcohol consumption among youth. It is said that alcohol advertisement shapes young people's attitude, perceptions, and expectancy around the alcohol use, which influences young people's decision to drink. And lastly, parents somewhat can control the exposure of the young people to the alcohol advertisement. However, a large amount of the alcohol advertisement are occurred in the public spaces. Therefore, restrictions on alcohol advertisement can allow community to control the alcohol advertisements.
Thank you, Sojin. Now hearing from Nathaniel.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Muniz, and I'm a lobbyist for alcohol and tobacco advertising, and I'm against the banning of advertising for alcohol and tobacco. I feel that these ads and both these industries are beneficial to the U.S. economy, and despite all the arguments that people throw out there about these advertisements, they really have no influence on adults themselves and less of an influence on the minors. We feel that the public already knows these products and the effects that they have on them if they use these products, and they have the opportunity and right to choose whether or not they want to use these products in the first place. And we also feel that it is the user's responsibility, if they choose to use these products, to control how much they use. And based off the tax dollars that the government receives, the number of jobs in both industries, we feel that this ban, if it passes, besides leading to greater bans, it will have greater disadvantages than advantages in the end.
Thank you. Now, Rafaela, How will this ban impact our society?
I think that banning the ads will have, in every sense, a very, very positive impact on our society, especially on the young generation. Because in the past, we have been too permissive and tolerant towards tobacco and alcohol misuse. Let me give you some statistics to prove my point. According to the Center of Disease Control, 90% of smokers begin the habit when they were younger than 18. So this means if people don't begin smoking when they are young, they are unlikely to initiate use when they are older. Also, the American Medical Association says that 11 million Americans under 21 drink alcohol, and nearly half of them drink to excess. So our goal has to be a cultural shift from the image that drinking and smoking is necessary for social acceptance towards safer drinking and no more smoking. Of course, I'm aware that we cannot convince one person at a time to stop smoking and reduce the consumption of alcohol, but I think that banning will have, first of all, a positive impact on the quantity of smokers. It will also reduce the temptation for children to experiment with alcohol early. And thirdly, I think that the consumption is going to decline and less people will get sick from smoking and drinking-related diseases. So to sum up, I'd like to say that the impact of banning will be a more healthy, virtuous, and also more socially responsible society.
Thank you, Rafaela. Now, do you think businesses' freedom of speech will be taken away with the ban?
In fact, the Federal Trade Commission Act prohibits unfair practices in commerce, and I agree that to a certain extent the freedom of speech will be taken away. But we have to see that in relation to the benefits, and they outweigh, in my opinion, the freedom of business speech argument. In the US, I know that the freedom of speech is one of the highest goods. However, tobacco is probably one of the most addictive substances, and it's extremely dangerous since it causes heart diseases and lung cancer. So to me, it's kind of hard to feel bad for the tobacco industry because they use the freedom of business speech as a purpose to make profit, and this should not go on the cost of the people's health. So to me, it doesn't look very ethical. Also, you have to see that business speech isn't the same as political speech because the Supreme Court does not give commercial speech full protection under the First Amendment. Therefore, the government has to basically the right to ban any ad of any product it dislikes or that holds potentially harmful products. And the main responsibility of any government should be the safety of its people, and that's why taking drugs is illegal as well as breaking the speed limit. So I think that free speech comes second when you are dealing with something dangerous as smoking and drinking.
Thank you. Now, Sojin, what restrictions would you impose?
The restrictions we are considering right now is health message labels and print health message labels for TV advertisement or printed advertisement, and prohibition of promotions aimed at young people, and also promotion associated with risky activities such as automobiles, which young can consider as a very fashionable. And also, additionally, we think that alcohol and tobacco advertisement should be more product-oriented, based on product quality that often young people can find it boring or less appealing or less attractive. And also, alcohol advertisement should be limited to the adult universe and should not enable one to perceive similarity between advertisement and the real life situations.
Thank you. Now, what would be the results of these restrictions?
Alcohol and tobacco advertisement, which are more productive-oriented and focus on the qualities, can facilitate building a brand recognition also still, and thus increasing sales without appealing to the young people. Since research in Brazil suggests that self-regulatories are not efficient to most vulnerable populations, violation of self-regulatory marketing codes for alcohol and tobacco is expected to prevent young people from alcohol and tobacco. But this phenomenon is also detected in Australia and America and also Italian studies. The objectives of this advertisement is to make those who receive message the adolescent to develop a detached and critical view and enable them to make judgment and make their own decision.
Thank you, Sojin. Now, Nathaniel, how will businesses be affected by this ban?
Well, if we see this ban pass, there are more likely to be stricter bans passed later on, whether in the years or years to come. And there's already social smoking bans that are in effect right now. And according to the economic impact of smoking bans, small businesses are the ones greatly affected by these. We see drops in profit in these small businesses and drops in employment. And within both these industries alone, alcohol and tobacco, if they're not allowed to advertise, they can't market their products. And that sales drops right there because they can't make any profit. And within any industry you look at, whether any small company as well, drops in sales usually leads to job cuts because they have to compensate for this. And they see that 1.6 million jobs alone are dependent on the tobacco industry. Now that's a great number of jobs right there that could be lost if jobs and sales start to increase. With the tobacco industry also sees that they are a great revenue earner for the government. Lately the government has been increasing taxes on tobacco, and now, according to the tobacco's impact on the economy, $11 billion are raised each year just in taxes alone. That's a lot of money right there that's going straight to the government. So if we look at the jobs and losses and the amount of money that the government's earning with these taxes, there's more disadvantages to come with all this in the bans.
Thank you. Now, do you believe alcohol and tobacco ads impact consumption in society?
There's already a lot of studies out there that have been researching this, and according to television ads and child alcohol expectancies, this was an experimental study done for the Journal of Applied Social Psychology. Beer advertisements were shown to 5th graders and 8th graders. These beer advertisements were shown to them mixed with PSAs against minors drinking, and in the end, they showed no change in alcohol expectancy scores from tests that were given to these 5th and 8th graders before and after these tests. If we also look at for adults, effects in a study, effects of television advertisements and alcohol consumption in normal drinkers, another study done for Journal of Studies on Alcohol. We see that advertisements are shown to adults who drink normally, and they were shown these advertisements mixed with normal advertisements. In the end, they saw that there was only no want or need for alcohol at the end of these advertisements for a few seconds, so it did not last long at all. These results were short-term and in the end resulted in nothing. Overall, advertisements in both these industries, we target not to minors but to adults. We show adults within these mature situations using these products. In the end, with the results of both these studies, there is no hard evidence to show that there is an increase in consumption within minors or adults with these products.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Now, today we've covered the reasons why tobacco and alcohol should and shouldn't be banned. We heard from Rafaela, who was talking about being against the ban because it will bring a positive impact on the youth and the health to society. We heard from Sojin, who believes the ban should have restrictions, so it will restrict its exposure to the youth. And from Nathaniel, who was against the ban because without it, he believes businesses and the economy will benefit more. Now, thank you, audience, for being here today, and we would like to thank our panelists who had insightful answers. Now I'm going to open the floor for 3 minutes for questions. Yes.
Could educating children school be a replacement for Ben?
Okay, the question was, could education be a replacement for banning? I'm going to pass that question to Rafaela.
I think that effective drug and alcohol education is very essential to tackle the problem of the misuse. It's definitely a good foundation on which we can build up. But children tend to forget outside of the classroom when they're in the class, and they are confronted with temptations like the commercials. So educating children shouldn't be seen as a replacement for education, but it should complement each other.
Thank you, Rafaela. Now, are there any more questions? Yes.
Why do you think there should be more restrictions other than an age restriction?
Okay, the question was, why do I already think that there should be more restrictions besides age restrictions? And I'm going to pass that to Sojin.
Aging restriction is inadequate to prevent the young people drinking for several reasons. Since some of the research already shows that there are still many minors drinking even though there are age restrictions. One study showed that one out of the five minors in Missouri states start their drinking at the age of 12. And as I said before, the self-regulatory rules are not very efficient anymore.
Thank you, Sojin. Are there any more questions? Yes.
What steps does the alcohol industry take to self-regulate?
All right, the question was, what steps do alcohol industries take to self-regulate? Nathaniel, will you please answer?
Well, as Sujin said earlier, these companies do self-regulate, and most to all of these companies, alcohol companies, do self-regulate, even small breweries. They usually begin by joint trade organizations, and some of the biggest international ones are the Beer Institute, the Distilled Spirits Council, and the Wine Institute. They usually, according to the Federal Trade Commission, these trade organizations voluntarily have these advertising codes, and guidelines to which they have to go by. And they consist of like having a good image, having that nice image, but they have a big focus on preventing marketing to any underage consumers, because that seems to be a big problem that people try to continue to go back to. The companies that don't usually join these associations, they have these their own internal self-regulations sectors, and this is usually to focus on within themselves and pay more attention to social problems that they see that the company is facing.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Are there any more questions? No? All right, well, that concludes our panel for today. Thank you all once again.